This is the render review for the Blender Challenge Retro. And generally for a Blender Challenge, we go to the ZeroBio Discord, and you can see some of the other challenges here. I've gotten rid of some of them, but you can see that there's generally a whips channel and a final renders channel. All right, so as you do a challenge, like for example the retro challenge, as you're working on it, you post your work in progress in here and show how things are progressing, and we can talk about them, and you can ask questions, that kind of thing. And then when it comes to the end of the challenge, you post your renders, or your single render in this case, here. All right, in the Retro Challenge Renders Challenge. So it's a screenshot showing that. And there's other channels as well for this inspiration. There are other renders that you can show and other whips, that kind of a thing. All right, so I'll leave a link to the ZeroBio Discord in the discussion, because there will be other challenges. All right, so let's have a look at the submissions. Now, one of the parameters for this challenge was that you submit just one render. So what I've done is everyone submitted one render, what they thought of was their best render, but sometimes these are rendered at high resolution and it's hard to get everything in. So what I've done sometimes, if need be, is I've zoomed in a second shot. You'll see where I've zoomed in to show a little bit more detail. But here we have our first entry, and there's all this retro computer stuff, as you can see here. Now, I got into computers late in the game. I was doing music when I was a teenager into my 20s and stuff like that, and so I didn't really get into computers, so I don't know all the different brands and versions of these. But anyways, here we can see a very nice rendition of some computer stuff and some old Coca-Cola cans. I guess that's relatively retro. One of these old lamps that I'm sure we all had. Of course, we've got Queen here, Guns N' Roses, so bands of the past, and probably these potato chips too. If we zoom in on here, you can see this person has mentioned ZeroBio. So this person always likes to put in a little something about me or about the Discord. All right, so you can see all the nice details here, just beautifully modeled and beautifully textured for their entry to the Retro Challenge. And of course, these diners, and I went to lots of these diners when I was young. There's a lot of detail in here, and a really nice color scheme. And some of the stuff, again, when I put it into this presentation, you can't see. So we'll zoom in on this as well to see some of the details here. So we've got some characters in there. Those weren't modeled by this individual, but everything else was modeled and textured in Blender and possibly in Substance Painter. I'm not quite sure about that. But you can see there are old albums on the wall, remember? Stuff like that, and old posters on the wall. And then, of course, we've got the ketchup and the mustard and all of the stuff that you would need at this diner. So really nice textures on this as well, and a very consistent color scheme and style. For I know this person likes to do a lot of isometric stuff, and so there's another one for his or her portfolio. Very nice. And keeping with the diner theme, we have another one. All right, and sadly you don't see too many of these anymore, but I just love these diners. So again, we've got that red color, and we've got the tiled floor, and even the checkered pattern up here, and the sort of the drop ceiling with the lights, and the I don't know, Air Exchange, is it? You know, even the Route 66 albums on the walls. You got an old jukebox back there, the menu, and again all the ketchup and mustard and stuff. Let's zoom in on this one just a little bit to see some of the detail. Look at those stools, right? So very bright environment and everything modeled. Oh, there's even, I didn't even see this before, the milkshakes or the various shakes. Oh, this one wants chocolate and this one's vanilla. There's a strawberry there. All right, it's salt and pepper shakers. You know, a lot of detail to model all of this to make it very realistic but cartoony in a way. Very, very good. All right, so now in this one, I remember watching this develop. This started with a retro oven here, as far as I remember, anyhow. And I mean, look at the color scheme to this whole thing and the details. And we'll zoom in on this one for sure. And then this person, I mean, that would have been enough. And I had said from the beginning, for this challenge that it's okay to do just one object. But and that would have been enough here, but this person decided they would go on and they would make a whole series of objects related to the theme that would fit into the kitchen environment. So you've got the refrigerator, you got the microwave, you've got the oven, and again, this is retro, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it took place in the past. So I was thinking, would you really have, microwave? Obviously not back in the day, but if you're making it retro-ish, it could be modern times, but harking back to those days. All right, the toaster, we got the spices, and we got the beautiful sink and cabinetry here, and even like a little bread box or whatever. So let's zoom in on that and see some of the details. Look at this, even with the text work or alpha work, whatever on here, and the detail and the texture. I wish I could zoom in more and you would see there's a nice, herringbone or something like that style on all of the silver, or some of the select silver pieces. All right, and yeah, this is gorgeous with the cabinets, as I had said. Okay, very nice. And keeping with the theme of toasters, this is another toaster here, an old retro design toaster. I've never seen one like this, but I think it's very cute with the way the handles are here, and even the bread has been nicely modeled here to look very realistic. And then, of course, you've got some of the damage on here. I think I zoomed in on that just one more time so you can see the way the damage is on this old toaster. Okay, and with the dials, I guess this one is going to be on for heat, and looks like this one will be off because that's where the bread is. But I don't know if that's the way it would work. But anyways, very cute, very nicely done. Of course, a mortar and a pestle. Many of us had these, and if you go into your pharmacy or your doctor's office, often you'll see them. I don't know how much they're used these days to crush up tablets, but they might be. But anyhow, I think I've zoomed in on this as well to see the textures. I believe this was all done in Blender, so the modeling, of course, very smooth modeling, as well as the texturing. All right, so you have to have a really good understanding of the shader editor in order to do materials like this. So, again, very nicely done. This is the only image I've got from this one here. This is some kind of a retro space sci-fi computer system. This is a beautiful keyboard. I really like the keyboard and the monitor, and just the perspective of this image with the cable at the back that looks a little alienish. All right, and that would certainly be retro because Alien came out a long time ago. And so we've got a little cupboard back here with a flashlight or some kind of a flare or some tool. I'm not quite sure, but it does look very sci-fi. But of course, you've got the small discs, and so that also means that it's somewhat retro. But the color scheme is just beautiful for all of this as well. So yeah. And this was really something that I thought of almost as the first thing when I decided I was going to do something in the theme, as well as an old kind of gas pump here. So this person wasn't satisfied with just doing one, but they've done 3 different things here. 2 of them are the same, I guess, on the outsides. So you got 2 there, and then you've got the air thing with the old crank. We'll zoom in a little bit on this, so you can see the texturing work, even with the peeling decals and the dirt, and you can see the grunge on here, which makes it look very realistic and old. And I think of all of them, I think this is my favorite piece here. Just the way the hose comes down is wrapped around with the nozzle and the handle here, and just all the detail on there. But so that's really nicely done. I know this person also was working on the entire gas station behind, and that was quite a lot to do. So they decided to just showcase the gas pumps as well, which was certainly enough for the challenge. All right, and here we have a pony car, a Mustang, and you can even see the pony right there. This individual has been really working on vehicles, whether they're cars or space vehicles, and getting better and better at doing that, almost focusing exclusively on that, as far as I can tell, and posts a lot on the Discord. And so here we can see a back view. This is just a perfect angle for something like this, the back view of this Mustang. And so, yeah, retro for sure. One of my favorite cars. I had a Mustang years ago. I think this individual said that they weren't quite finished this, and it does look like we have some empty spaces. And I guess this is some kind of a picture wall showing retro items. And I'm not quite sure, but I think the style of the picture is somewhat retro, and perhaps the vehicle in here is retro. I do like the landscape here, the modeling of that. Very much. The vehicle itself looks pretty good here, and then we have some more cartoony stuff, which is also very cute and not as typical as I would have done or thought of. And I'm not sure what's going on here, but again, I think it might be unfinished. And while these challenges are going on for 2 or 3 weeks, people are going to school, people are working, and there's other things in life to do, and things don't always get finished. But it's a good start anyhow, and hopefully it will be finished sometime. There's more technology to have a look at here. So we've got some kind of a camera. I believe it is a Zoom 8 camera with lots of nice modeling details and lots of nice metals and plastics or rubber here. I'll zoom in on this in a little bit, but it's just very, very concise modeling and very sort of typical and not, I was going to say correct, but appropriate textures. So we zoom in on here. I just wanted to focus on the objective here, or the lens, or whatever. All right, just to show you the details of this. Okay, so that's really, really nicely modeled and really nicely textured as well, as they all have been so far. And I'm not sure what this is, but it does look rather retro. But these look almost like foot push buttons. It almost looks, and I know it's not with this, but it almost looks like an old some kind of a guitar effects rack. That would be cool as well. But here we have some pretty good modeling. In particular, I do like these because I feel like I want to push on them, as well as on this joystick of sorts as well. So again, I'm not that familiar with some computer setups from the past, so maybe somebody knows this is some kind of Commodore, Atari thing. A good solid entry. And we have some old binoculars. Look at the texture on that. It just, and really against this wood background, just really brings it out. But it's just beautiful flowing curves on this thing. And beautiful texture as well. So that's very nicely done. And I think there's another entry from this person as well too. Yeah, this one here with the spy glasses. All right, and yeah, this one we've got a name in there. I think it says Levy Scope. I could be wrong, but that's a little hint to the individual who made this. But again, you can see how the metal comes down with this goldish yellow color, to the silver. You've got some dirt in there, some grime, so it looks well used. Very nicely done against this background. And yeah, and then I saw this one, and this one stands out in that it's not only nicely modeled but really nicely textured as well. This Sony what exactly? Looks like an old radio almost, or a radio transmitter. I'm not quite sure exactly what it is, but we've got the dials, we've got the input, we've got what looks like a speaker panel over here and another dial. Really nice screen here, and the way the lighting is done. Of course, Pac-Man is going to be somewhat retro. So here this person has created an arcade style game. And it looks extremely realistic, all the way down to the little emission where you put your coin in there. All right, with a great pattern on here and color choice that's reflected in the environment as well. All right, so it's just super nice, very cute. Some more musical instruments. We've got an old retro Shure microphone. Look at how nicely that's modeled, and simply but appropriately textured again. All right, we've got different styles of bolts I'm seeing here on these, with our switch to turn it on, and just really clean modeling. It looks real to me. It looks like a product packaging or product advertising. It's great. And here we have another one. This is by a different individual who created this. Isn't that just gorgeous? And then of course you've got the, you know, the patterns put on here. For some reason the word's escaping me. Against a blurred background. All right, there was more to this image as well. As you can see, there's a crate here. So this looks like some kind of a rehearsal hall or a concert hall of some sort. And the band has come in and they've got their equipment, and the lead vocalist is about to get up and belt out the blues or whatever. Yeah, very nicely done. And this is another thing that I had thought of early on, the old gramophone. So here we have a gramophone modeled and textured, and I'm not sure if this was done in Blender or in Substance Painter, but either way it looks very convincing, and right away you'd look at that, you'd know exactly what it is. And we've got another one here as well. All right, with a couple of albums on here. And of course I asked the person, what album is that? And they mentioned something about my cover songs on my channel, so that was nice, but I know they were kidding. All right, so here you can see another gramophone. Beautiful. And then there was a series of telephones, and I had also done a telephone. So here we have one of those old candlestick kind of telephones. And you also have this crank-like thing and some other equipment in the background. So nicely modeled and nicely textured for the Retro Challenge. And here's another old-fashioned one. I had seen some like this and had thought about modeling that as well. All right, so another version of the retro telephone. And then this one here, I had done something similar, and this person likes to do some of the stuff that I model and take it a step further, or take it in their own direction. So here you have one of those old retro payphones. Here you can see you put a quarter in, but of course it's got the push buttons, so it's a modern version. It's a retro version. Okay, let's zoom in just a little bit more. You can see the nice detail, nicely textured on here with the plate here and the information and the lock there, and you can see the damage on the sides of this all the way through with the Valvoline sticker. All right, and here's another one of the Roman candlestick retro telephones as well, and I'll zoom in on that, and you can see the nice texture job done on this with some indents here or some extrusion there, done in Alpha Work, I think in Substance Painter. Very similar to the phone that I did, but taking it in their own direction in terms of texturing, which is what people like to do. So you know, when I'm doing the series, when I'm doing the challenge, I generally choose something and I model, and I say you're able, that's not the word I was looking for. You're welcome, that's it. You're welcome to do what I'm doing. But nobody ever does exactly what I'm doing. They always say, okay, well, I'll do something like what you're doing, but I'm going to take it in my own direction. And I think that's great. And that's really probably the best thing I could hope for. Look at that. Isn't that nice and shiny and black? So, yeah, that's the Roman. You know, I save my stuff to the end, and I see stuff like this in the previous one, and sometimes I'm almost a little embarrassed to show my work, but that's my role, so that's okay. Anyways, that just looks gorgeous, the gold and the black against the gradient background. It shows up really well, and really nicely done cord, you know, in particular, because I always have difficulty with cords. All right, so we zoom in on here, and you can see the buttons, and you can see the detail of the materials. It's not just a simple black, all right, or a simple gold. There's detail in those textures. All right, and this is what I was talking about. All right, so this is my stuff here, my submission to the Retro Challenge, and I guess I modeled this, and I think I provided a reference image for this as well if you wanted to follow along with me. All right, so it's the Retro Roman candlestick phone, modeled in Blender and textured in Substance Painter. And I guess I should remind people, if you do decide to join future challenges, that you do need to do your own modeling in Blender, and it's got to be a new model, not something that you did, 3 months ago that fits the category. All right, the idea is to be present in the moment and model something new that you haven't done before. Challenge yourself a bit for the particular theme. And yeah, but then beyond that, as far as texturing, you can use all kinds of different things, whether you just stay in Blender or use Substance Painter, Substance Designer, you know, all kinds of things that you can do. Okay, so yeah, I just zoomed in so you can see a little bit more of the details on the phone. And I did one more submission, and that was my payphone. All right, and then like I said, there was a previous version of this, but a bit nicer than mine. But that's it. So I did the two phones. So that's it for this Blender challenge. Retro, and the question is going to be, what's the next one? So feel free to suggest a topic, and we'll start up another challenge in a couple weeks. I've got some other projects to do, other things I want to show you, and we'll get back to another challenge. So if you're interested, then come on over to the ZeroBio Discord. I'll leave a link in the description, and you can see what other people are working on, and you can see when I announce a new challenge, and submit your whips, and eventually a final render or final renders, depending on what the parameters of the challenge are. Okay, so thanks so much for watching. Please like the video, leave a comment if you feel inclined, and make people feel good about what they've done. Take care.